G'day YouTube, warbles on a lot here. We've had about 5 millimetres of rain onto the 6.4 tonnes that turned out of crushed granite. And it's not quite perfectly shaped. So ideally the drizzle that's threatening on the eastern horizon will hold off, and maybe, perhaps, possibly I can improve on the distribution of the dirt. Basically, I sort of need to collect a little bit of dirt from over there and there and pull it across and put it down in here. Happily, I have progressed a bit beyond Rake-Hoe and a rake, and I figured out you can in fact use a $400 ladder as a land plane. The fact that the rungs are hollow means that you can tow pretty much from on the midpoint. The theory is the front edge cuts off the high points and the rear edge carries loose material to fill in the holes. So anyway, that's the theory. Might be time to have a look from the side. See how close it's getting. Doesn't look too bad, eh? The idea, in my mind, being to have the top of the pad sort of shaped like the top of a fried egg, sunny side up. And just a flattened out, slightly gentle dome. So any runoff from the roof of the tent will want to go out to the edges of the pad rather than tending to puddle in the middle kind of thing. And I think I'm getting kind of close to that. But I might spare you the gruesome, gory details of the final little bit, and I'll come back to this video directly. And I don't know whether you were able to actually visualize while I was walking backwards, but you can tell by the colour of the dirt, which is moister the further down it was, therefore the darker it is, as witness marks as to where it's actually cutting. And there's larger pebbly bits, that's what's being cut off and then dropped out. So it is indeed cutting from over there and then distributing around here on the low points while cutting off in there and still dumping over here. So yeah, unconventional use of a $400 ladder. But as long as I wash the ladder thoroughly before I try to extend or contract it, I can't actually see how I'm going to be doing any damage to the ladder on a functional level. Okay, after another session, approximately the same amount of time, a spirit level on a straight edge says that this is more or less flat with a very slight slope up towards the centre, which is what I want. There's a little bit of a drop off there towards the edge of the pad in some places, but I'm not going to get completely obsessive about it because this is supposed to be a 7-metre diameter pancake on top of the which we want to mount a 6-metre diameter yurt, which I think of as a glorified bell tent. Once again, more or less flat with a slight slope leading up to the centre of the pad. Sadly, here on the high side of the hill, the slope does actually run contrary to where I wanted it to go. But on the other hand, what that means is that the top of this dirt here is vertically above the top of this dirt here, and therefore water is less likely to come down the hill, overland, and flood the yurt. So I don't actually mind too badly having a little bit of a lip on this side, purely for the purposes of local elevation for water runoff. And on this side we have a strong slope downhill from the centre of the pad to the front stairs. And as you can see by the scrape and scuff and cut marks where the high points used to be and the pebbles being dropped where the low points are, it's going to take an awful lot of cutting along here till you get out and start cutting over there in order to try and get this higher than that. So I think I'm going to leave this as it is. I'm going to say this is pretty much good enough for hillbilly work. I didn't have enough money to buy enough fill to come all the way to the top of the wall, basically because I started off with decomposed granite that's fairly expensive, and then I've moved to crushed granite, which is less expensive. I should have started off with crushed basalt, which is the cheapest of the lot. But even so, this is 24 tonnes of decomposed granite with 6.4 tonnes of crushed granite on the top of it, and I don't know, it would probably take another 5 or 10 tonnes to bring the thing up to the original vision of being level with the top of the rocks. But at the moment, the owner of the yurt that wants to go here is currently couch surfing because she stopped paying rent when she emptied the house into the shipping container, and she wants to erect the yurt and move in post haste, if not yesterday before. But yeah, she's self-isolating with COVID. So I think this is probably as good as it's going to get before a yurt goes onto it. I may be wrong, I may become inspired to try and do a much more better job than that, but you're arguing over less than half an inch. One bit's half an inch higher than it should be, another bit's maybe half an inch lower than it should be. So I think I'm going to call that happy. So there you go, and now you know. And perhaps one is not quite as silly as one looks. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Hope you've enjoyed levelling the dirt for the yurt. Ciao.